Hi, Tony here. We all know that traveling is great fun. We also know that traveling can be quite expensive. So, today I'm going to talk about the hidden costs and rip-offs and scams you may find when you go to the airport. Okay, number one is public transport and how to actually get to the airport. This is where the costs can really ratchet up. For us, for example, where we live in London, we can get a bus that goes straight to Heathrow Airport, which is £1.75 each, which is an absolute bargain. So, getting the bus is usually the cheapest option. It's not always the nicest, it can take a lot longer than the taxi or the train. But number two would then be the train. Trains tend to be a bit more expensive than a bus. Usually a bit more limited in terms of you might have to change at different stops or whatever it is. But that tends to be the cheaper option. However, there's a caveat to that, which is be wary of those express services. So if you think you're going to get on, say, Heathrow Express, I even lose track of how much that costs now. It must be like 25 quid or something per way. You're suddenly hit by quite an expensive fee for the train. So if you're coming into London, for example, then if you use the Elizabeth line versus the Heathrow, this would be if you're using the Elizabeth line versus the Piccadilly line versus the Heathrow Express, it becomes very disparate in terms of the costs. And one additional aspect to using public transport that you can get caught out on, and I've got caught out on it multiple times, which is you need a card, a specific card, the Oyster card or the Metro card or whatever it is. You can't just get on the train. So sometimes there'll be a deposit on that, 4, 5, 6 euros, dollars, or whatever it is. So as you're only going to be there potentially for 3 days or 5 days, that's dead money. So there's not a lot you can do about it, but yeah, be prepared to shell out a few more bucks for a card. Unless, of course, things are getting better. As an example, London, and we recently went to Portland. You can just tap and go. Use your credit card, your debit card, tap and go. So much handier, so much more convenient. So if you can tap and go, that's probably a better option than having to spend money on a travel card. Okay, the final option to get into the airport is by private road travel. So either your own personal car or by taxi. We don't own a car. We've never owned a car in forever. Never owned a car. So I can't really pontificate or strategize on parking fees versus overnight car parks versus long stay car parks, blah, blah, blah. So I can't say any of that, so I won't. In terms of taxis, obviously competition's got a bit more intense over the recent years. Obviously, you'd historically have the black cabs or any other public transport, yellow cabs in New York and so on. You then have the private cabs, the mini cabs run by private companies. And then with the advent of certain technology, you now have the app based taxi companies. There are pros and cons to all of them. When it comes to getting to the airport, I found black cabs are, or off the road, off the meter, as it were, are probably the worst option on balance on the whole. I'll give you an example. I recently travelled back with a friend who was on a flight after me. So we got the taxi from Heathrow back to where we live in, just outside of London. It was sort of £64 in an Uber. She got a black cab. She's only 10 minutes down the road. £168 for the black cab. So that gives you a sense of the potential discrepancies. But I'd probably avoid mini cabs, especially if you're traveling to a destination. I'd only really do that if you were, on your home territory and you knew it was a local company that you trusted. So my advice would be if you are traveling to another destination, just do a bit of research. What you can do is check out either Viator or private companies, see how much they're charging, get a sense of how much TripAdvisor, or just do a Google search of how much a public cab would cost. Another little tip is you can obviously, if you've got Uber or other apps, you can actually change your destination and check how much it is in advance. So before I go, so, oh, how much is it going to be to go from Cancun airport to my hotel, or how much is it going to be to go from Denver to my hotel? So you can actually do that in advance and get a good sense of the likely kind of cost. Obviously, there's fluctuations and all that sort of thing. But ultimately, a lot of companies are expecting you not to have done your research, and that's where you might get into the cab and they don't turn on the meter, and then you get spanked for like $100 or whatever it is. So yeah, make sure you've got a good sense of the price range and what to expect. Of course, certainly in the UK. I'm not sure about other places in the world, but if you are traveling by road, either by car or by taxi, this is so annoying. So post-COVID, they brought in drop-off fees, and basically they now just charge you. I think it's anywhere. Well, in London it was £5. I think we just flew back by Gatwick, it's gone to £6. They charge you just to drive into the airport, and the amount of traffic goes in that it's just they must be making a fortune. I'm saying this is a complete rip off. I might understand post COVID that there was a lack of money and business was down and all that sort of stuff, but this is just pure skimming money out of people. So yeah, if you are going to get a cab or drive there, prepare to get hit for another 5, 6, 7 quid, 9 quid, 10 quid, whatever it's going to be, because it's just going to keep going up and up and up. So yeah, that's one rip-off that does annoy a lot of people. Oh, there is one caveat to that as well, is Uber and I imagine other app-based taxi companies, they include those drop-off prices in the actual quote. So you're never going to get hidden costs by them. You know what it's going to be upfront. Mini cabs, so yeah, just be aware of that. You may get dropped off or picked up and say, "Sorry, mate, another 10 quid, 5 quid, 7 quid, whatever they want." Right, so we have already paid King's ransom for the taxi. We've just got fleeced for 6 quid for the pickup. Now let's get into the airports and other scams they have. I'll do this quick one, which is I've never understood why you have that wrapping machine, where you get your bag and they just use so much plastic to wrap around. I mean, I guess it's some kind of security thing, but if someone's going to steal your bag, they're going to steal your bag. I mean, you can just steal it with the plastic and just cut it off when they get home. So it's a bit self-defeating. I'd probably say that's a little bit of a swindle. I've never done it, and I never would. But I actually don't know how much it costs. Hang on, let me look it up. Let me look it up. Okay, bag wrap prices 18 quid. 18 quid. 20 quid a classic wrap. Oh yeah, classic wrap. An ultra wrap. It sounds like a frigging, burrito or something. And also, why would you pay that? Surely you've got travel insurance that covers it. So okay, right. And what? You've got two, three, 4 bags? No, don't do this. It's another rip-off. The quick one before we go through security would be, and this is what I told me, don't get your money from any of those sort of currency exchanges at the airport. Though their rates, their commissions are just ridiculous. So yeah, make sure you've got some cash beforehand. There's another money saving tip I'm going to give you later. So for this premise, we're going to assume we didn't get the money at the airport, at least on the departure side. Okay, so we've wrapped our bags. We've got through security. Now we're into the departure section. Okay, let's talk about food and drink. Some airports, this is what I like, I was going to say love, this is what I really like British airports. The prices you get in British airports are not dissimilar to what you get on the high street. So generally they're pretty good. Some of them, though, so we've been to like I think Singapore was bad. Some of the like Copenhagen, some of the states was just ridiculously expensive. So it's when you get those obscene markups on food. When they're charging like $12 for a beer, a little cup of beer or whatever it is, and then they expect the tip or sales tax on top. So yeah, that's really annoying. So be aware of that. Keep an eye on those prices because there are some airports that ratchet it up to the point of like absolute daylight robbery. Um, and for those of you that are lucky enough, like me, to have lounge access, I would say as well, it's those places that either shut the lounges early or don't have lounges. You might occasionally get a little voucher, but it's never enough to buy anything substantial. So yeah, just I'm going to say either eat something simple, take some food with you if you can, but don't get stung for the $25 for a burger plus $10+ for a beer. So let's say we've had a burger and a beer. Let's put 60 quid down for that as well. So we'll add 60 quid to the list. The water scam is not as common as you'd expect, but I'm putting it on there here because it's one of the most annoying scams when you get hit by it. This is usually an issue, for example, if you have either a lounge or stuff, or the gate is just before security. So let's say you have lounge access, like to take my bottles, my flasks of water, fill it up, go through. Can't do that if you've obviously got security, so you have to go, right, that's it, fine. I have to buy some water the other side because there's no water fountains. We talk about like, oh, saving the planet and all that. All those plastic bottles in those airports. So I don't know why more airports don't have water fountains. A lot of them are doing so, and that's a credit to them, and I think it's really important. But basically the scam is your security. This Frankfurt airport's like this. The departure gate is right after security, and there's like one shop there. We had a similar thing in Cancun. The lounge was before security. Get through security, no water fountain. So what that means is you have to buy the water, and as with the previous segment, it ain't cheap. So coming through Cancun, for example, it was $5 for a bottle of water, like 1 litre bottle of water, $5. So I bought two of those. So that was about £7.50. So let's add £7.50 to the list of rip-offs. But yeah, this one's super annoying. Certainly on those long haul flights, I want to get some water. I want to get a decent amount of water. I haven't got anywhere to fill my flask up, so I'm going to have to pay a lot of money. Okay, we're on the flight now, so let's assume that we're on a long haul economy flight and that we don't have to pay for anything on the flight. So thankfully, we've got at least what 6-7 hours where we're not getting fleeced. So we're going to land. We're going to land, and we're going to say, right, okay, I'm going to get some money out this side because I've started to find that some of the interest rates or commission rates, I should say, are pretty comparable to drawing money out of the cash machine at your destination. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. Of course, you need to check because what happens is that there's a huge markup in the ATMs before you get outside. So, I've fallen for this when I've been a bit drowsy or whatever. You're kind of like, okay, that sounds fine. Oh, hang on, I didn't add that properly. And they've actually taken, like, say, 30 quid commission from you. So it's a real pain in the backside when you get stung by this one. So just double check if there's any hidden cost if you are doing that. If in doubt, just wait till you get outside the airport and try and find some for some cash from there, or take some with you. Sometimes it's good to, I think, for example, it's good to have a stash of US dollars or euros or some small change on you. But let's assume you've made the mistake I did and withdraw it from the cash point just in the baggage reclaim section. So I'm going to put 30 quid down to my total of rip-offs. Right, so we got the money, we got our bags, we got passport control and all that. So let's get into the taxi rank because we haven't booked anything, have we? So we go to the taxi or head towards the taxi rank, and then someone grabs your bag. Oh, let me help you, let me help you. A little bit aggressive, not in all places, but some places. So let's add £2 down to that because we've got to tip him or her. So right, taxi and same old scam. Initially, we have to go through the taxi. Oh, guess what? There's a tolls. There's X, Y, Z. So let's put another £100 down for the taxi. So we finally get to the hotel. I'm not going to go into the cost of the hotel. Oh, we'll take some money to put a security deposit on from your credit card. Yeah, you don't need $500, do you? So let's take an assessment of the cost. So remember, right at the beginning, we did check with the taxis, did we? So we spent £100. Let's say we spent £100 on a taxi to the airport. We then got stung for £6, didn't we? £6 for the drop-off fee. So six. I opted for the ultra wrap for both my bags, so we're going to add £50 to that. Okay, I had my burger, didn't I? I had my overpriced burger and beer. We had two of those, so that's £60 eating in the airport. Okay, so we then also had the £7.50, didn't we? For the water we had to buy in the airport because security was just before the gate and they don't have water fountains. So £30 on the commission. That was it, wasn't it? For getting ripped off from the ATM. £2 to pay that person to carry our bags 10 meters, and £100 for the taxi back, including all the tolls and fees. So our little trip has cost. Okay, so the hidden costs of our trip to and from the airport came in at £355.50, which, let me just check the currency of it, $466.39. So over $450 just in those hidden costs getting to and from the airport. Okay, so don't get too deterred. Don't make the mistakes I have. So take some of these tips, try and save a bit of money, and don't get smashed for that kind of cash when you're on your holidays.